everyone, I think we are live. I've been struggling with the feature to schedule live streams, so I have to test here really quickly and see if we're actually live here really quickly. We are. Cool. So thanks everyone for joining tonight. We have our coaching session in about 1 hour, and before that we're gonna try some other fast laps, see like if we can get consistent at the 24 threes, or if we can improve our time as well. We have a few things. I want to get more comfortable with the car going around corners faster. Hello, Cortese. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. So we are beating the bots, which is awesome. I'll take a look at this later. So for now, these are our track, these are the conditions. Let's get into it. It's our favorite session of the week. Cortese, your favorite session. All right, so let's get here. One of the things that I have to work on is going the throttle like this. Oh, hold on. Going the throttle like this. Like really being able to, like, you know, I feel what I do a lot of times is, you see the difference? I'm here, like I go here, and then I continue, or I go here, but I don't go like, I cannot intentionally, even fast, I have to like go the full course of the pedal, and I get anxious, and I do like this. Can you see the difference in the curve? Let me open caps, because I like having the thing here. Cool. Now let's get these tires warm with maybe 1 or 2 laps. I don't want to be watching relatives right now. What I want to do is get comfortable and go like 3, 4, 5 laps and see what pace we have. It's kind of early, but yeah, we cannot go like on there. I think I'm going too hard on the brakes there. Wash the tires here. Oops. I forgot we're not supposed to go this fast. Okay, okay, too much. This should have been like a better corner, because tires are okay now. Super late on the gas. I want to try to avoid abusing the tires as well because it's a short lap and the fixed setup here, it's gonna be interesting because it's a half-an-hour race. Can go on the gas slightly earlier. There's a 5.4.
Court Easy said, I thought you did coaching yesterday.
No. You didn't watch yesterday, did you? That's how I know. Thursday are coaching sessions. Wednesday we learn the track because now I have to learn a track every single week, and we put like a fast lap so we can be coached. And what we're doing today is trying to improve upon yesterday.
Court Easy said, bamboozled.
Having a good exit there is super important. Maybe not touching the curb there, it's gonna be faster.
New fastest lap for you.
Staying fourth, maybe. No. Too early. Yeah.
Court Easy said, yeah, maybe just a little bit less curb.
Yeah, I think so as well. And here I have to go on the gas as soon as I'm pointing out of that, or like to the straight, to the back of the straight. Let me set an active reset point here. Like this one here. No, too far. Completely missed the apex. No. Gotta brake harder at the entry there. Well, this exit felt very, very good. Was it good? I don't know, but it felt very good. And I think that's the main corner of the entire track. Because it's a long, long straight. Long, long straight. Even less. Good news, there's no off track there. That's very good news. That's good. That's good. Nope. Still not. Oh, that was actually good. Was right in the limit though. Yeah, that's it, that's it.
You've just set your fastest lap of the session.
I think it's our fastest Estes ever. Am I gonna stay in? No, right? Man, that exit last lap was very good. Uh-oh. Oh, I already had it. Okay, I was looking at the wheel, trying to get a... No. Too much. Too deep. Lost a lot of time. 2/10. If I'm getting too early here... Oh, I don't want to see this. Try to relax a bit here and not overwork the car. Easy, easy, easy. Gotta brake harder on a straight line. Let's start watching ourselves versus our optimal. I think it's gonna give us some good insights. Let me see if I can lock this lap this time. Because 4.3 is not bad for me. Missed. Yeah, that final section there, final part of the sector. No off track. I went too hard on the brakes. It was a beautiful set of corners. Then I've been afraid of I'm Are we staying? We are staying. Okay, cool. Over braking. We're over braking. But at least our last few laps are consistently there, which is not bad. We're finding consistency in our method here. Uh-oh. Bad, bad, bad. Let's see what we can do here. No off track. Too early. Oh, off track.
Cole Evans said, "What's up? Is the pace any better today?"
It's better. It's more consistent. At like close to my optimal lap. But in terms of improvement, like raw improvement, not much. We had a huge improvement on Sector 1.
New fastest lap for you.
We're gonna miss the corner. 4.1. We are bringing it down. Still like tough. Let me stop a second here. So let's see compared to the coach. First things first, let's see the video from behind of our car. I usually think this is one of the most styling cameras. Yeah. You see like 4.5, 4.4, 4.4, 4.9, 4.4, 5.4. This was bad. 4.1, 4.3, 4.3. That's the consistency we're looking at. If in a race I'm doing like 4.4 every single lap, I doubt we're gonna have like a bad finish. Just enough on the curb here. We can use more of the outside. We go on the gas here. Just after this. So we do brake like pointing to the middle. And you go on the gas. I think that's actually a good line. Not bad, I think that was good. The car's getting... Maybe I have to rotate a little bit more before I go on the gas. But that was good. I don't have to go close here. This wasn't as good, you see? So this was the problem here. Too early on the gas. I went on the gas here. The
Cole
car's
Evans
trying to point inside.
said, "We need to set up another race so I can do one with you guys. Not sure how splits work, but I feel like it would not pair me up with you."
Yeah, like we might do one on Saturday. Because we've been trying to, like on Saturdays, do like a race in the next week's track. Which is going to be this track with this car, or like any GT4 really. And we're going to just fill the field with bots. And whoever wants to join, joins. And we can race together. And we can do like, if we have enough people, we can also do like a for-fun race. Next week maybe. Could be like... I think for this Saturday, maybe we can ask. Are you in our Discord server, by any chance? But here, that was it. Like, I went too early on the... I should have waited and gone here. The car cut straight here. The car have gone like this, opening up more for this corner, so I lost a lot of time here. No curb here, no curb. I think it's a pretty decent lap. It's a pretty decent lap.
Cole Evans said, "Awesome, yes I am, but Saturday is the 4th of July, so I likely can't do this weekend. I can for sure do next though."
Good point. Very good point. I might still be here, but maybe we won't have like enough people. But next week, let's... Do you have like GT4 cars? Or you don't have like enough the paid cars and paid tracks? How's your situation? No? Okay, this one. Is this Mugello? Yeah.
Cole Evans said, "I'll grind for the license this week and I can buy whatever I need."
Is she a rookie? I mean, I don't want to make you buy a car. We can race like a free car as well. You can race them too. The GR86.
Cole Evans said, "Yeah."
Yeah. Man, enjoy your first few weeks. Like, don't worry too much. We can race a free car. Everybody has a free car, so it doesn't really matter. Damn, T2 is very fast. So, but then we still have a lot of time to gain here. Let's see. So T1, braking last. We can brake a little bit more, just a tiny bit more. Guess it's in the right place. It's just being more assertive, but he is carrying more speed than we are. Okay, and that's the time. Like, he's just carrying more speed overall around the corner, because it's just like a faster entry speed, I guess. So I am behind here. Maybe that's why I'm braking less. And I'm getting the right speed right here, but then I hesitate, and I can use more of the outside. That's why we gain some time there. So this one is actually very good, but it's costing us somewhere. Let's see where. So not gonna even try to think. I think it's a good braking later, going on the gas earlier, and we're gaining like not on the entry, on the exit, which is where we want to gain. So 132 down to like 0.21. So right here at this point we are faster than he is. But then what happens after? We are braking slightly early. Slightly early. And we're hesitating on the throttle. So from our braking point to 100% of the gas, that's like 8/10. No, 8/100. Like almost a tenth. And then he's just carrying more speed. He's just carrying more speed. And he's carrying more speed because he went on the brakes less. And he's going wider, so I can go wider here. It's fine. I don't have to be afraid of going off track. I have to learn how to do this on track. And because he's going wider here, he's carrying more speed. Because he's carrying more speed into the next braking marker, he's gaining another like some time more. Half? Not like half a tenth, right? 5/100. So we can do this. And then I'm braking harder. I just need to touch the brake to get it in. And I'm going on the gas to get, and I get actually the same speed here. So can even go faster around this corner. But basically the loss starts on the braking zone, which is right in the right spot. Right brake pressure. It's the wrong brake shape though. Do need to carry more speed around the corner. Hairpin. He's braking slightly earlier than we are, which makes us brake harder. And we get on the throttle. He gets on the throttle here. I get on the throttle here. He gets to 100% here. I get here. Which gives him like 5 kilometers an hour more on the exit. Then I catch up. But the time is all here. The time is all here. It's not that bad though. And then some more time on the straight. And this one he's braking earlier, so I'm braking too late. Shape's the same. Here's good. Then because I went wrong, this cost me time. So if we had done this properly, all the way through here, we'll be just 0.26 behind him. But because we messed up, this last corner, yeah, because I did mess up this last corner, I ended up giving away 4 tenths, or like 35 hundredths, 3.5 tenths. Good. Good. Few more. There's more here. No. One more. Not good. Not good. Need more brake pressure. Not ideal, I'm still losing a lot of time here. Gotta go earlier on the brakes there. That's why this is happening. Too much? Too much. hard, very hard. I'm pushing very hard there. Let's try to push a little bit less, okay? Otherwise I'm not gonna go through like any corners. Let's pick our pace here.
Clay Morris said, "Hey, it's my home track."
Hey, home track. Have you ever been there like in real life? Clay Morris, welcome. Have you ever like watched a race here or raced here in real life? Gotta go hard on the brakes there.
Clay Morris said, "I am at CTMP very often. I work in racing."
Oh really? Tell me more about it. Ah, damn. You got me curious. What do you do? This track's like kicking my ass. Yeah, I feel like
Clay
I have
Morris
to brake a little bit harder.
said, "I do data work with mostly radicals, but dipping my toes into some GT4 recently."
Nice, man. That's super cool. Like a race engineer, or like on the path to be a race engineer. Jeez. Slightly harder. No, I cannot cut in this much. Are a sim racer as well, or like just?
Clay Morris said, "On the path yet."
That's super cool, man. That's super cool. Let me show you like an app, and I'm not trying to sell anything. It's free. I'm building an app to help me that I shared with my Discord community.
Clay Morris
I'm gonna show because
"iRacing really needs to rescan this track. This scan is almost 15 years old."
man, it's so freaking bumpy. Anything that you go like off the line, the car's bouncing. The car is just like a pogo. Let me show you, because you might find this cool. So I built this app here, and what it does, it shows me the telemetry live, like what's going on with me versus what's going on with my reference lap, which is like from my coach. So it shows me like where he brakes, how much he brakes, when he goes on the gas, how much he goes on the gas, like the curve and everything, the delta in time, the delta, like the gap in speed. I'm here going like later on the brakes than he is, and earlier on the gas. Oops. Super late. And yeah, I'm carrying like this 4 kilometers an hour gap, you see? Now down to 2. This was a complete garbage lap, I'm just showing you that. But this kind of helped me, because I see like the telemetry in VRS. But then like nailing some of the spots is really hard. It's always good to look up and have a reference of what's going on. Like you see, I'm understeering, I'm not trusting the grip there. I'm not gonna stay in. Damn. I'm gonna use it one more time and then I'm gonna make it my own mind. Too much. But I gotta trust more like the grip there. Let me close this for a second. What do you think? As a race engineer yourself. No, I knew I wasn't gonna stay. I gotta learn how much I can trust the grip. Jesus, I almost lost my hand and my legs here. No front wheels, no front wheels. Let's go back to track.
Clay Morris said, "It's a cool tool."
Yeah, it helps me. It does help me, like, because seeing the telemetry and then coming back to the track, 2 different beasts, right? Because like, oh, I have to brake earlier here. But how much earlier?
Clay Morris said, "I tend to try to get as much off my screen as possible. I usually don't even drive with the Delta, but for others it could be very good."
Yeah, like, when I'm practicing, I like having the data that helps me. So if you see right now, I don't want the Delta distracting me, that's why I don't have it. And right now I'm not like trying to find those gaps. I'm just refining my fast speed. Jeez, I'm going too early here. But right now I'm more like in the refinement phase. But I still have a huge gap to the coach. But I think it's also like the ability of damn, that's not enough. Ability to handle the car faster around some of the corners. Like here, I didn't use all the track. I lost at least a 10th there. Here, I'm struggling now. I wasn't. Like, I was doing that beautifully. You see, like, ooh, and off track. Aside from the off track, that was good. Where's my force feedback? It's gonna stay, it's gonna stay, it's gonna stay, it's gonna stay, stayed. Cool. Oh, that's it, that's it, that's it, that's it, that's it. No, no, no. I was really on the limit there. Should have been more patient.
Clay Morris said,
There's more track.
from being here so much, biggest tips I see so far is stay off of all the curbs here. There aren't any you want to touch, and follow the asphalt patches with at least your outside tires.
Okay, let me try. That involves changing my line, maybe significantly. Let me see. No touching the curbs. Oh, touching this curb. So this one, I was being somewhat successful until like the break with an inside line. Let me try something different though. Nobody saw this one. Too late.
Clay Morris said, I lied outside curbs in turn 1 and 10 you can use.
Okay. Now I have no idea what turn 10 is. Okay, the last one. This is the hardest one by far, because a completely blind one, and I know that going like on the gas at the right time there, it's kind of crucial. But okay, let me try to avoid. I think like I'm mostly avoiding the second half here. I'm trying to get close to them. There is one curb, I think it's turn 9, that I still touch. Like this one here. I didn't now, but I usually do. Too early on the gas. So I was using this line here, and I was being super fast on it. Oh, that felt good. That felt good. Uh-oh. Too deep. Too deep. We lost a good chunk of time there. Good chunk. Oh, I avoided it. Okay, cool. There's more track to use here. Not good. A lot of ABS engaging. We can fry and nag on my tires right now. I can guarantee you that. Much better than last time. Much better than last time. Let's try to get a very good back end here. Oh, oh. It was such a good... I choked. Yeah, my sector 2 was good. I choked. But I do think I can do this better without using the curb. Oh yeah. Push too hard. Damn. That's not gonna go well. Stayed in.
Clay Morris said, another big thing is to make sure you get your left tires onto the white line for the second apex of turn 2.
Second apex of turn 2, let me see. Left tire on the white line, second apex of turn 2. I know exactly what we're talking about. So I don't go wide, right? I'm pointing the wrong direction here. That's why it's garbage. I'm pointing the wrong direction and wasting time here. Almost improving our lap time. Missed the first apex. No point. Let's just reset. Good. Stay. Like here, right? Like this. There we go. That felt good. Late upshift, but it felt good. I didn't open them as much as I needed. Oh, off track. That means we went on the gas tiny millisecond early. Let it roll.
Just set your fastest lap of the
But I
day.
got an off track, so it doesn't count.
Clay Morris said, okay, I gotta head out, but good luck on your practice.
Oh man, thanks for the tips. Like, they are helping. They are helping a lot. Thank you for the tips. I'll see you next time. So now we're avoiding at all costs like this curb here, which we're attacking a lot before. And we know we have to go tighter here, otherwise we're gonna miss the corner. So let's go again. Let's focus on this. Like very good lap. Very, very good lap.
New fastest lap for you.
3.9. 3.9. And there's still more to improve, guys. There's still more to improve, but like a 3.9 right before session. I think it's good. I think it's good. Let's go. Just go for like cool down. Let's compare our telemetry with like the coach. Let's see what changed. So this was before. Let's get it after. Oh, I have to slam the brakes here. So, panorama. Let's now compare his lap against our new lap. So, before we were losing 0.61, now we're losing 0.4. Not bad. So first corner we were 0.09, we are 0.1. We're 0.13. So we improved about 0.4. The second one, now we're losing a bit. Not losing, but like we were 4/10 faster than we are right now. Sorry, 400ths. 3 and 4, 227. We kind of got it right now. This, I think, yeah, this is the long right-hander. 5 through 7, we are slower on 5 through 7. So there's time to be gained here. And then on the straight, we're faster, so we have a better exit. We're just slower on the corner itself. And then the last one, we improved a bit. There's more to improve, and I know exactly what's going on here. I just have to improve it. I think it's pretty good. Let me see something here. He's doing 1 minute, 23 seconds, 5, 4, 6. In our gap right now is 0.406, less than half a percent point. Like that's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet. I think if we keep practicing, we can get here consistently, which is what it matters. And I think we can even shave off more time. Yeah, gotta be patient there. Oh, let me see if I can brake on the patch. That's too late, right? I don't have like force feedback. Where's the force feedback? Yeah, the patch is too late, okay? Let's try. A later line. No. That should be harder. Alright, 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 O'Reilly's Auto Parts. Super late. Super bad. Let me try like a full decent lap. That's what I'm looking for right now. Too early felt. Off track. That's a bad lap. It's just a bad lap. You see, if I go too early on the gas, I'm gonna understeer. Taking me too long to go 100%. That's bad. No. The ABS there is killing me. So I need to open up more. How do I open up more this corner? Like this, okay? Yeah, there you go. One more attempt, okay? One more attempt. That's it. Where's my force feedback? Okay. Got off track. Bad corner. Do I have time for one more? We don't have time for one more. Coach is here. But I think it's a super good lap. Like, I am very proud of our lap time. Our optimal lap is 3.6. He's at 3.5. Which means like we are extracting a lot from this car. Probably someone can be faster. Probably he can be faster. But let's not take this for granted. Let me just save our lap because I want to see during the race. Laps. Hold on. All right. Create slice. So this is the GT4. Where is it? Right, Canadian 123,953. So save it. Ready, let's tell him ready. And let's bring Jenny here.
Good evening, brother. How are
Hello,
you?
hello, how are you doing, sir?
Yes, good, thank you, man. How are you?
I'm good, thanks for asking.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Just make sure you change your mic. I think it might be on the camera mic, if I'm not mistaken. There.
Hold on.
Discord's the best, I know. It always, even for
It
me this
changes.
morning, it was the same thing. There we go. That's better. Got you. That's all good. Great. But yeah, no, good to hear, man. Good to hear. I was watching watching a little bit of your stuff before, just as I finished another lesson. I was just seeing you were pumping out some laps before I had a look what was going on and did my little assessment of obviously Canadian Motorsport Park. But how has the rest of the week been in other sense? Have you obviously put any other time into any other sort of aspects or any other tracks like Magello, for example, or just kind of put your time into this at the moment now, just ready for the race week?
So, I did put some more time between our lesson last week and this week
Yeah,
in Mugello, because
yeah,
one of the things that
yeah.
I was noticing, I do need to get more comfortable with the pace of the car, like
Hmm.
going faster around the corners, and that's like getting
Yeah,
looser, right? Just getting looser.
yeah, yes.
And so I put some more time like over the weekend. That was like mostly
Hmm.
offline. And on
Hmm.
Tuesdays, I'm racing a league, just
Yeah.
for fun, GT4. That was like Road Atlanta.
Okay.
So a
Okay.
different
Sweet.
track, a track that I know, but it was
Yeah.
kind of a struggle to get close to the fastest pace. But I had fun. And then back in
Okay.
Mugello, I think three
Yep.
races so far. Good,
Yep.
good pace,
Yep. Okay.
improving.
Good.
So yeah.
Yep. Yep. Okay. No, fantastic. Yeah. Look, I I think definitely what you're gonna find, and I think it will go to say for a lot of tracks that we'll visit in this car in particular, but I think it goes to say not even for this car alone, but even like with the continued progression, the cars like GT3s, I think the biggest thing is that drivers that are trying to obviously get into that sort of or dip their feet almost into that high level of kind of splits or obviously high level racing, whatever it might be. The problem is that a lot of the guys that have been doing the racing and are in your races typically have been driving those circuits for a very, very long time. And Road Atlanta is a very, very popular circuit in these cars, in GT3 cars, just in general, tin top cars almost in a way, and even in open wheelers as well. Very, very popular track because they have events like the Petite Le Mans that they do every year, which is a 10-hour special event, which is very, very popular on iRacing. So a lot of people probably driving it there, and then they resonate back and come and do the GT4s around there because it's a good mix. So yeah, it's hard to sometimes find that that differential straight away, because again, you're basically putting your level of experience of barely knowing the track for probably an hour compared to people that maybe have known the track for 50 to 100 hours almost in a way, and have done that amount of track time on that circuit in their journey already of their sim racing careers. So it's sometimes hard to be able to find that much. And I suppose as well, right, car choice is very, very important when you do go to these tracks as well, and that's I suppose the biggest thing, that when you do say, okay, well, where is that last little bit of an edge, it can always sometimes be in that car choice. And I think that's, as you again extend and expand your knowledge of these types of cars, we're dealing with GT4s, GT3s, even prototypes, it's very much a case of, yeah, there's a car that wins all almost in a way. It's either, it might be 1 week to 4 in the BMW, or it might be it might be the Porsche and the BMW, it might be the Porsche and the Aston, it might be the Mercedes and the McLaren. It could change every single week, and that's the hard part about the multi kind of manufacturer series like this, for example, is that essentially like 1 week could be Porsche, 1 week could be BMW. But again, that isn't our focus. The focus is, how can we start to drive these cars to the edge and to the limit? And that's why, getting these really good results already off the bat, no matter what the soft is, no matter what anything is, that's amazing. Because again, I think walking in, like I said last week, I think mentally probably you were prepared to go backwards. But I think the best thing for me, and even for you, mainly in yourself from a confidence point of view, should be that you're going forward, right? And it just shows that everything that we've learned up until this point today is working. And again, like I said in your YouTube stream you were having the other day, I was saying, like, literally whatever you learn in one car, it genuinely just carries across. Structurally wise, it all carries across. It's just the fact of every car is going to feel a little bit different, downforce wise, tire wise, speed wise, grip wise. All those little things are going to be slightly different, but structurally it's all the same. And is that something that you're finding as well? It's literally, we're doing the same inputs, the same approaches, the same philosophies, all from what we learned in the BMW. You're finding that crossover is happening quite easy for you. It's just extracting that edge and understanding the circuits, I guess, is probably still the thing you're getting used to.
Yeah, I think it's a fair assessment. Like, I think one thing that I want to clarify with you that you said last time,
Yeah.
and I was debating with myself what that meant as I drive this car. You said, and I may have understood it wrong, so it's a good time to correct me as well. But you said that it's like the BMW, there's a lot of rotation, and this car feels more like planted, feels more like on rails. And
correct.
I'm not sure if that means that I should, like, whenever I'm rotating, whenever I feel this car is sliding, that's bad, or if I should still feel like some slide, just not as much as the M2.
Yes, correct. Yeah, correct. So nowhere near as much as the M2. The problem is with the sliding in this car is the sliding in these cars, especially on the fixed setup, always generates traction control, right? In comparison to the BM, I feel like the sliding was a part of its kind of natural style, and I feel like the TC buffer was a lot different in the BMW in comparison to this. This thing is very, very sensitive to every little kind of counteractive slide that kind of occurs, and especially like if you're pushing just over that edge and just over that limit, what you're always going to find is that it's going to give you that brrr, and it's going to typically affect a fair chunk of lap time for you. So typically this is the hard thing about, and I guess probably the hardest thing for you to get used to now, is going from a car like the M2 that was, so slidey almost in a way, it had a very different style of driving, to now almost driving something that, you are driving it on the edge, but typically it has a lot more, a lot more stability, and you're driving it with a lot more stability as well, which kind of changes the game and changes the approach a little bit in that sort of sense. But I think honestly, you are getting used to it without a doubt. I think it's just more so getting used to how to actually drive the car on the edge without getting it to kind of mechanically rotate as much as what the BMW did. And do you feel like that's something that you're still trying to get your head around, actually making sure that, for example, a lot of sort of long corners here at Canadian Motorsport Park, for example, those little things like just trying that brake a little bit longer rather than using the kind of throttle to rotate it, and all the little things like that? Are you finding that that's a little bit different and a little bit harder for you maybe to get used to in one way or another? Is that sort of something that you ever think about?
Yeah, I've been testing around, so I think I think what it tells me, what you're saying is, like the line is more important than ever, because I feel like in the
Yeah.
M2, if we're like a few feet apart, like a few centimeters apart, I could still rotate the car and go around very close
Yeah.
to your pace. In this car, what I'm hearing from you is, if I'm sliding the back to get like into the corner, that's costing me time. So I probably have to open up more the entry so I can point in the right
Yeah.
direction and go around the corner.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Now, the one big thing I suppose that is the biggest difference between, I guess, this car and obviously the BMW is engine placement, right? Engine placement is the really, really big difference. So obviously in the M2, we had our engine in the front, I believe, if that's correct. I think the engine was in the front in that the M2 car, and obviously in the car, obviously we're dealing with here, engines in the back, right? Now, this is something that becomes very prominent when you are driving, mainly GT3 cars almost in a way, because some tracks obviously are going to suit different cars based on actually where the engine placement is. But the main thing to actually understand as well is that it typically changes the rotation phase of the car and how you obviously go about approaching that. So when we obviously were driving the M2, we had a front engine car, right? So when we think about it more so in a way of how the bouncy ball kind of moves around, we kind of got to think about it, well, typically the same things are going to occur, of course, when you put the foot down. Obviously, you're getting drive from the rear axle, so typically, weight's going to shift to the back. Of course, when you hit the brakes, that weight's going to shift to the nose, going to load up on the particular wheel that is obviously opposing to the corner that you're going into, and then you try the brake and you power on. Now, the difference is between a front engine and a rear engine car, for example, is that the front engine car, you're actually using more of the throttle to rotate it through the exit of the corner, right? Because you've got a lot more load over the front tires and obviously over the front of the car that you can afford to actually put the foot to the floor, get the bouncy ball moving to the back, but you've still got weight that's actually loading up the front axle, right? Because naturally that engine's going to make the front heavier. The problem is with the Cayman, right? And the thing is that obviously with a lot of these rear engine cars, you don't have that. You don't have that luxury. You don't have, 400 or 500 kilos of weight from an engine sitting in the front of the car. You don't have that, right? So the thing is that it slightly changes the way that you've got to approach the corner. And I can see that almost in the way that you're driving a little bit in a way. There's a lot of cases where you're trying to, like the BMW, you're trying to use the throttle to rotate the car, but it's not working for you. It's just inducing understeer every single time. So the way that you do it with a rear engine car is you actually rotate more on the brakes. So for example, if we think about, let's just say like a Tsukuba hairpin, for example, let's just say the turn 5 hairpin at Tsukuba coming onto the back straight. In the BMW, you would brake, peak, hold, trailers obviously you turn in, but as you kind of would get to the apex, you'd kind of, or just even before the apex, you'd pick up the throttle, and that would mechanically rotate the kind of nose of the car into the corner, and you could power on. But as well, it would rotate the rear too, which would give you that kind of little bit of a neutral steer effect where the car would feel like it's sort of sliding around the apex. Difference is if you were driving this around Tsukuba, you would peak, you would hold, you would trail, you would keep on trailing, but if you picked up the throttle too early, you would just go straight, right? Because the problem is that as soon as you pick up the throttle and haven't actually rotated the car, you lift up the nose, you lift up the front of the car, and actually you just take all of that weight over the front axle and it goes away, and it all goes to the rear, which just basically means you line up the nose and you just understeer. So what you need to do is you need to trail for that little bit longer to make sure that you actually got the nose positioned where you want it to be. Then you can kind of get on the throttle, right? So that's a big factor that we've never really talked about before because we haven't had to. But obviously in this situation here, this is what I'm kind of noticing a little bit in your driving is that you're trying to pick up the throttle very early, and sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't. And it's typically noticeable in a lot of these kind of long radius corners that we're dealing with, right? And if I share my screen to you here, you can already typically see it at somewhere like turn 1 here at Mosport, right? You can kind of see when you look at this, right? You brake at the same spot, you brake a little bit less, you trail in the same motion, but you drop the brake a lot earlier and pick up the power a lot more aggressively. But what happens? you start to understeer, right? Because obviously you get to a point that obviously there's not enough load over the front axle anymore, because obviously there's no front engine there keeping that weight there, and you just eventually understeer, which obviously then makes you have to sit at about 70-75% for a very long period of time before you can get to 100%. But if you just, like me, if you just tried that brake a little bit longer, it would have been okay. But the difference is as well, I broke a lot harder. I broke the 21, you broke the 17, right? So you broke at the same spot, you broke softer, and you ended your trail earlier. You tried to get on the power at the same time as me. But typically, with how you done this, you should have been only getting on the power probably about here, almost in a way, right? And you got on the power all the way here, because you're hoping that it's going to bite. So does that make sense a little bit to you there, Alan?
A lot.
Does that
So
kind of open up your
yeah,
opinion?
two things.
Yeah.
One, I did like a slightly faster lap just now. Can you pull that
Oh,
in?
okay, did you? Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, absolutely.
I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
because like I went through the telemetry between like this lap and the one that I did, and I wanna see like
yeah. Hmm.
how that changed.
Yeah,
Why
absolutely.
while loading that, like what you said, I was feeling it. So I was feeling,
Mhm,
oh, I went too early on the gas here, but now
mhm,
explaining
mhm.
why, that helps connect the
Yeah,
dots. Like that's
yeah, 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 yeah. No, absolutely. And is that something that you've kind of you considered a little bit, and I guess from your driving already, that you've done up until this point in this car, is it something that you kind of sat there and like, okay, yeah, look, I can notice this little bit of a difference, or again, has it kind of been, I guess, the focus kind of been just trying to get used to the car and not really trying to think about that in a way, but you can see same thing, right?
yeah,
You try to pick up the throttle a lot earlier, but look what happens. You get to
I
90
understand. Yeah,
and you halt, right? You halt. It's because you pick it up that little bit earlier. Again, you end the trail earlier, you try to rotate it on the throttle. You can't do that anymore in this car, right? You've got to let that trail linger almost in a way, and that's where the rotation comes from. So it's a different perspective, completely different perspective. And if then, in the future, you go and drive, let's say, the Mercedes, right, which is a front engine car, it's back to normal, right? Rotate on the throttle, don't rotate on the brake, right? So you've just got to kind of depict the two and say, which do I need? Almost in a way, which do I need? Do I need to rotate on the throttle with this car, or do I need to rotate more on the brake? Because at the end of the day, either way, you're rotating on the brake every single time. But the big sort of thing is that when are you doing it? How are you doing it? And why are you doing it? That's the biggest sort of thing. That's what you always want to kind of look at it. So does that kind of answer a few questions for you in terms of like probably things that you've sort of like minorly maybe thought in your mind that was like, oh, okay, like that doesn't work maybe the same as the BMW, but I guess I don't know why. Is that sort of something that I guess you've thought about up until this point?
yeah, it does. It does. Like as I was saying, I think like the explanation they were giving me of the weight transfer and where the engine is and why things happen.
Yeah.
If you see,
Mhm.
like I'm trying to go on the gas right where you go, and I feel like I'm
Mhm.
understeering,
Mhm.
so I'm trying to adjust where I go on the throttle. And actually,
Yeah.
the issue here is not the throttle; is like when I
Yeah.
finish releasing the brakes.
Correct.
So
Yes.
that's like that gives me a different perspective as I approach in the corners. Instead of focusing on the
Yeah.
gas, focusing more on the brakes, and the gas gonna like fix
Correct.
itself.
Correct. Exactly. And again, it goes to say if you then go and drive a car with the front engine again, like the M2, it would go back to what you're used to. You'd get on the throttle earlier, you wouldn't trail for as long. You'd use the throttle to rotate it. And that's why, like, in a lot of my experience with GT3 coaching, especially in cars like the Ford Mustang, for example, a lot of drivers tend to struggle in the Ford Mustang a fair bit. It's either they drive it really well or there's kind of the lower end point, but there's never an in between because at the end of the day, it's either they understand what it needs to take to drive a front engine car, or I don't understand it. There's no middle ground, right? There's no real middle ground with what we're trying to do here. Again, we are very close to the point because we've learned all the right structures. But if you've got the wrong structures and then doing this as well, time just falls out the window. Quicker than you can click your fingers, almost in a way. It will just fall away from you very fast. So that's a really big concept that again we haven't discussed as of yet because again we haven't needed to. But hopefully that kind of opens up your perspective and obviously for tracks like this, it makes you kind of realize, okay, well, this is something that I really need to do. But it makes you almost think as well at the same time, why is there better cars for certain tracks? Why is the BMW good somewhere? Why is the Porsche good somewhere? Why is the Mercedes good somewhere? You got to think about how the types of corners that we're dealing with actually make it work. Do you want a car that rotates more on the throttle here? Do you want a car that rotates more on the brake through here? It's about depicting what you would actually really want. Now, in my opinion, to be honest with you, a track like this, you'd probably get more beneficiary from having a car that rotates more on the throttle, just for the types of the corners that we're dealing with. Because at the end of the day, every corner leads out onto a straight pretty much in one way. Now, it's always going to be some long distance period of road, almost in a way out of every corner. So if you've got a car that you're having to keep on trailing, the guys that are in, let's say, you know, the Mercedes or in the Mustang or, you know, in the BMW, for example, you know, they're going to be picking up the throttle slightly earlier because they need to rotate, but they get that boost out of every single corner. But then it depends on how the driver's doing everything else. Are they braking correctly? Are they trailing correctly? Are they getting on the power, you know, efficiently? All the little factors like that makes a bigger difference than you think, and that honestly can be the biggest deterrent to, I guess, gaining or losing time, pretty much in a way. So it's an interesting topic to think about, yeah, it definitely makes a difference. So yeah, something to keep in the back of your mind. But I think overall with the circuit, how are you finding the track? Obviously, a very unique one, something that we've never really dealt with before at any track we've been to. Lots of straights, lots of long open areas, but lots of tight kind of technical corners as well. So yeah, how are you finding the overall kind of gist of the circuit? Are you feeling a bit more comfortable with it, or are you still feeling like there's a bit of sort of a bit of understanding that's still yet to go in terms of the circuit?
No, I feel like I already understand like 80% of how to go around this circuit. I think the two
Yep.
places I'm still like experimenting to get better are the hair, like the tight hairpin, like downhill right side,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then like the last set of corners. Is
Yeah.
this my lap? Because I'm looking at my lap here.
I believe so. It's
Let me
23.9.
see.
Is that correct?
Let me,
23.9. Is that the one where there's a
yeah,
952?
that's the one. Yeah,
Was it nine? Yeah, 952.
952.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what
I
I'm
had the
looking at.
9.
Like T1 is the same thing.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but
Yep, same thing. Yep.
no, yeah, now we're looking
Yep.
at the same thing. Cool.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, but like I'm
100%,
getting
yeah,
more careful.
okay.
One of the things that was hard to get used to this track is it's very bumpy, and
Yes,
because it's
yes.
very bumpy, when you brake or when I brake, I trigger the ABS a lot. Not like
Yes.
continuously,
Yes.
but like flickering.
Yes.
And I was trying
Yeah,
to
yeah.
not engage it, and it was a nightmare. Then like I looked at you,
Yep.
and you were like kind of going through the same thing, so I got used to it.
Yes.
But
Yep.
if
Yep.
you miss the line here, it's very hard to do anything. You gotta go back to the line.
Yes. Yes. No, exactly. And yeah, look, the ABS is a hard one here, right? Because yeah, you said it perfectly yourself. You're mixing obviously the bumps in to obviously and there's something to factor in, but as well you're turning quite a fair bit around here as well. You're always braking and turning here. There's not really a lot of like straight line braking at this circuit, to be honest with you, right? So we always know that whenever we're turning, you know, that we're always going to be getting ABS. So it's not really something to worry about too much. You know, it's just kind of something that you unfortunately have to deal with. But if you're just flickering into it and you're not really like aggressively holding it for very, very long periods like we know we don't want to, then that's okay. That's something that you can't really work around. So that's normal. So don't pay a crazy amount of attention to it around here. Again, it's just unfortunately there's not really we can't really do anything, to be honest with you. Because yeah, literally I don't think there's any corner really on this track where you're actually braking in a straight line, to be honest with you. I mean, you basically, by the time you hit the brakes, you're already turning in a lot of these cases, you know. So yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, maybe into here actually is probably one of the most straight line braking sort of initial entries that you're getting at this circuit. But basically by the time you then turn in, you're still at such a heavy pressure that it just induces the ABS, along with obviously the bumps that you're getting into the types of corners, right? But one thing I noticed really typically, and we'll just run through the lap here, but turn 2 you were really good at, and in every lap pretty much in a way, every lap that I've seen from you, you've beat me in turn 2, which is really, really good to see. So how are you finding through there? Obviously turn 2, is that a comfortable spot for you by the seams?
Yeah. Sometimes I do a little bit faster, sometimes a little bit slower. But
Okay.
what I've been doing, I think I've been braking slightly later than you are, and I'm trying to brake like pointing and doing like a tighter arc and going on the gas. I think a little bit early. Yeah, I'm seeing here. I should think, a little bit earlier. And that's the thing is, I have to be very cautious, because if I miss either the braking mark for like 1-2 meters or the gas like 1-2 meters early, it's easy to go off track. So it has to be like I'm getting better and better. So, but whenever I feel like I'm gonna miss the corner, I lift, but that costs time.
Yes, correct. So yeah, you are right, and when you look at it in this sense, basically what you're doing is you're coming in here and you're just keeping it tighter basically this point, which
Yeah.
allows you to basically punch on the throttle just that slight little bit earlier than me and still keep it tight, and then you just naturally end up a little bit wider out on the right hand side than me. You end up a little bit closer to the curb basically there on the right hand side. That's the difference that we have in comparison to one another. But I definitely found that as well. I definitely found that if I could do that on the particular lap, I would go crazy fast. I would gain a big amount of time, but I didn't feel comfortable in doing that consistent. So the important thing is that if you feel comfortable and consistent in this way, absolutely superb. That's fantastic, right? That's what you want. For me, felt like to get to that mark, obviously, whatever I was doing driving wise wasn't really allowing me to achieve that result. So again, that it might mean that, yeah, like you're doing, obviously, like you said, need to go a little bit deeper, need to maybe carry just a little bit more initial sort of break through the initial phase, and then obviously it'll allow me to get a little bit sort of tighter to the sort of mid part of the corner, which will then, of course, allow me to power on a lot more aggressively. But yeah, you can see that, yeah, obviously me being blue, you being red, you can see that typically you are a lot more shallower on the inside, which is great. Now, this corner I found for me at least, and the following corner at 3 and 4, two very good corners for actually feeling the edge of the car. So did you feel like you were able to start to sort of define where the edge of the car was almost in a way? Could you feel where that was almost in one way or another, or was that something you were starting to experiment to feel in a way?
Very easily, and that's
Yeah.
because um, when you when I don't go like when I do use every single thing that I can use from the car, I'm clearly slow, and when I overuse it, I
Yeah.
go off track in both. So this
Yeah.
one, like you go
Okay.
down to the left, and as you get straight, then
Yeah.
you go on the brakes. I feel like
Yeah.
there, if I go like if I do something wrong, slightly wrong, and carry too much speed, it's very hard to
Yeah.
keep the car on the track unless like a big lift and like holding the brakes. And
Yeah.
if you over brake, like if you over reduce the speed, it's easy to eat the
Yeah.
inside curb a lot, which you don't want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, no, it's nice to see that you're sort of feeling that, and I guess just to see it and actually tell you where the limit of this car is almost in a way, where I feel it is almost in a sense. Obviously, in comparison to the M2, a lot more kind of aggressiveness on the steering wheel you can get in the M2 car. But when you watch how my steering wheel is in this position right now, like moments like these little moments like that, where I'm just having little snaps in the steering like this, like that little moment there, like that little moment there. Basically when those yellow lights kind of flicker pretty much in a way, pretty much in a sense, which is obviously signifying basically the TC ever so slightly when I'm doing that. Um, Basically, that's the edge. That's the limit for me, pretty much in a way. And you can see into the following corner, I have a little bit like right there. I have a little bit more of a snap, like just a little bit like that. That's as far as you want to go. That's literally the edge of the limit. And you can see exactly when I do that as well. These yellow lights, TC's flickering, right? TC's flickering, TC's flickering. So that's the edge. That's the limit that you basically want to get to. Obviously, the M2, if you could imagine back to driving that car, if you were going to hustle around this circuit, you would be going around like a bloody like a slippery slope almost with the steering. You'd be
Mm-hmm.
working the steering, on off, on off, on off. It would be just shuddering around everywhere almost in a way, which again was just the way that you went fast in that car. When you drove it more stable, you'd be going slow, pretty much in a sense. So it's just a very different ideology of how we wanted to extract time from that car in comparison to this car. But again, that's just the whole understanding of it. So do you feel like you're getting to that point, like you feel like you're working the steering wheel a little bit like that, or is that still something that you're trying to say, okay, well, I can actually do that, but just knowing to, I guess, what extent you can do that, I suppose, in one way or another.
And you mean like playing with the steering wheel?
Yeah, just working around, letting the car move around a little bit underneath you. We're starting to, yeah, just feel where that is and see where that is almost in a way.
Yeah. I feel like
Yeah.
I don't have to repeat like what I just said, but I feel the same thing.
Mm.
More like
Yeah.
some of the corners more, some of the corners less. Like
Yeah.
I also try to,
Yes.
whenever I feel the ABS engaging too much, I fight more the wheel because I want to like try to disengage the ABS.
Yeah.
Whenever it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
using less ABS, I'm more like
Yeah.
I'm smoother on the input, but
Yeah.
I feel that a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, no, for sure. So no, they're all the right things that you're feeling. I think that's obviously important. It's just about obviously understanding, and as you are, And I said that obviously from the very beginning with these GT4 cars. Realistically, of course, the stability is completely different, downforce is completely different, and the way that the weight is distributed almost in a way is very different too. But just naturally, the driving style is just a lot more like stability wise is just a lot more, and obviously that's something that you'll carry into pretty much every car going forward now. Obviously, if it's this peak up, obviously GT3s, LMP3s, prototypes, anything you drive basically above these GT4s, you're going to be carrying this technique forward pretty much in a way. And that's why the M2 was always a very interesting car, and why I kind of questioned it as more of a rookie car, to be honest with you, because it wasn't a rookie car, in my opinion. That car took a lot of skill to be able to drive, and that's, I think, why people thoroughly enjoyed it. In terms of a good skill level driver would really enjoy it. It was the drivers that really didn't understand what was happening, unfortunately, that didn't have a good time, and naturally so, which is why people are kind of always complaining a little bit about this new car, because it is almost too easy, to be honest with you. It is too easy, but that's for me what I feel like a rookie car should be. It should be a car that you can learn the basics, learn the fundamentals, and then a car like the old M2 would be a car to step up into, where it was a little bit more on edge, moving around a little bit more. But again, we've kind of gone the opposite direction. We've learnt that, which is obviously fantastic, which has given you a lot more confidence in driving this car to a more high level. You know the feeling of what it feels like to be on the edge. You know where the limit is for a lot of these corners. Now it's just basically about going and applying it, and that's the difference between the two. So I think it was a blessing in disguise, that, but for obviously now it's going to be a lot more like that's not really an option, because those cars don't feel like that anymore. The closest would probably be the MX-5 almost in a way, but again, it depends how you drive the MX-5 that gives you or doesn't give you that answer, I suppose. So yeah, but no, I think, look, turn 2 really good. I think, yeah, please keep doing it in the way you are. You're doing really, really well. One thing that I will say is, obviously, like, we do talk about this obviously release of the brake and obviously the increment of the throttle here. You can see that same sort of, like, that same approach is kind of existing here, to be honest with you, but not in the same direct sort of way, because here you've done it to be like this, where you've broken later, you've broken slightly harder, you washed off a little bit more speed, which has allowed you to trail off and get on the power earlier. But in a corner like this, for example, depending on how you go about it, it's very much a case of, as per the previous lap, you were braking obviously softer. In this case, obviously, you're braking to the same pressure initially, but you are releasing a little bit more through the kind of mid phase, which then obviously makes you hold on longer at the trail phase, which then obviously makes you feel like you want to get off the brake and get back on the throttle. So you've just got to be very careful in the way that you kind of go about applying, and just remember that on a consistent basis, you're always going to go faster by trailing that brake in a little bit longer. But again, it very much depends on how you go about it. You did very well for T2. You tried to apply the sort of similar ideology for 1, but the difference is for 2, you went from 0 to 100 nice and quickly. The difference from 1, you went from 0 to 70 nice and quickly, but then you're holding 70, 70, 69, 68, 70, 70, 70, 70, then you got to 100. Whereas you didn't do that in 2. You went from 0 to 100 basically straight away. So that's always the biggest thing to remember. If you don't feel like you can get from 0 to 100 in one instant motion, or as soon as you can, basically one instant motion, you haven't rotated enough, which means that you needed to trail that brake for a little bit longer. So that's usually the thing that I look out for to tell me if I've done something right or if I've done something wrong. It's how quickly I can get back to 100%. So if you rotate it well enough, you can get from 0 to 100 quite quickly. If you haven't, then obviously you're not going to get that same reward. So it's something to think about there. 3 and 4. So again, another long-winded corner. So right-hander. How do you feel here?
Can you go back to T1?
Oh yeah, 2-1. Yep.
Because I was looking something, and if I look at the overlap that we have with the gas, the throttle, and the brake, I was looking here. It's like 50 meters.
Okay.
How does that change the dynamic of the car around the corner? You there? I think I lost you.
In terms of what phase you're depicting here? Yeah. Can you hear me? Oh, you can't hear me? Yeah, okay.
Now I can hear you. Can you hear me?
You can hear me now? Oh yeah, I got you. Must have been some sort of, I don't know, it was strange. Nothing. I didn't lose you in any way, but sorry. Where were you? Where were you sort of signifying that? Where was the sort of phase you were kind of looking for there?
So
Was
if you
it
look
in the
like where you
trail, or-
start, yeah, where you start like going to the throttle, and where
Okay,
you
yes.
finish like
So
the
down here.
brake, like
Yes,
there is
yes.
like a 5 meter overlap there.
Yes, correct. Yes.
So I'm wondering here like what's the effect that this has on like the behavior of the car on the corner.
Yeah. So again, it's a very tough corner that, well, I guess overall with this circuit, very, very tough corners that we're sort of typically dealing with, because again, they're not just your normal hairpins. They're not your normal just, your hairpins that you can kind of break into, get the car rotated and power on at the apex. You're always typically trying to rotate the car, but you're always trying to kind of get back on the power as well. But the problem is that the way that obviously we're doing it differently is that for me, in a lot of the case, I'm still letting the car hold weight on the front axle, right? I'm still basically keeping the brake loaded so that I'm holding pressure onto the front axle. Now, look, is this absolutely perfect? No, not by any means. I probably should have been maybe getting on the throttle probably somewhere around here, to be honest with you. I have typically picked it up a little bit too early. But that basically what that is doing is it's holding weight in all basically areas pretty much in a way. So what I'm doing here is I'm keeping load over the front axle as I obviously continue trailing the brake, but I'm also beginning that forward momentum going as well on the rear axle. Now, the beauty of the rear engine cars that we're dealing with here is that, again, weight balances out, right? Because you've got weight over the front, obviously with the axle and obviously the engine that you're obviously holding onto with the brake, but then you've also got the rear sort of energy coming from the rear axle when you go and pick up the throttle. So what basically happens is you get this kind of tightrope almost in a way that basically it's pulling on the front, but it's pulling on the back. And what it actually does is it actually levels out the car almost in a way. It actually balances out the car when you go through this transition phase of pretty much here to here almost in a way, right? Instead of feeling like if you were in a rear engine car and obviously having a rear wheel drive as well, if you did it like this, again, you would just basically you'd pretty much lift up the front nose pretty much in a way, because even though you've got the brake on, you would be getting that much force, that much load into the rear of the car because of all of the rear axle energy, all of the rear engine energy, that even with you holding the brake on, you would just understeer, right? That's why sometimes picking it up in a rear engine car this early, it just wouldn't work, because again, it just would not allow you to get the same sort of, sorry, in a front engine car, it just wouldn't really allow you to get that same effect, whereas in the rear engine car, you can balance the weight out a little bit more, and it kind of gives you just a little bit more balance in terms of everything that you're doing. So it's really just, I have maybe rushed a little bit for sure. I haven't done it absolutely perfectly. But the biggest thing is that I'm actually just working with the two sort of inputs together to give myself a bit of a balance. I'm going forward, but I'm also not just letting it go forward. I'm making sure that I've actually rotated it completely. So it's not perfect, but I'm just trying to do two things at the same time to just get the kind of shift of balance going in the right direction, and not sort of saying, okay, I'm losing too much time by washing off too much speed with the brake, but then I'm not getting on the power earlier enough either, that then I don't get that kind of exit momentum out of the corner. So yeah, it's definitely a bit of a confusing approach, but I suppose you just basically got to look at it in a way of like, you're just trying to start everything at the same time. You're trying to get that momentum going at the same period of time, but you just got to be very, very sensitive with how much you do it and for how long you do it, which again is a bit of a different approach in what we were ever looking at in the BMW, because you just weren't ever really put into that situation, to be honest with you, right? So does that kind of answer your question a little bit in a way?
It does. So here's what I'm hearing from you, and correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong, right?
Yes, please,
I
yes.
think the bottom line is for a car that has like a rear engine like this, because you're like 3% on the brake, right? So what you're doing, you're just like slowing down the weight shift to the back as you get on the
Yes.
throttle. So
Correct.
if it's like a
Yes.
front engine, no need to do that, like because the weight's already there. But as the front of this car is like lighter than other cars, instead of like releasing the brake as we go on the gas, we delay that transition on the brake just
Correct.
to make sure
Yes.
like we're not throwing all the weight back and losing a lot of grip on the front. So this is kind of like
Yep,
a
correct.
resource that I should have in my toolbox, right? Whenever I'm feeling
yes.
I'm understeering in a corner, maybe slow down like the release of the brake and try to slow down
Yes.
the weight shift to the back part.
Correct. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, spot on. Couldn't have said it better myself. That's absolutely perfect. So yeah, very much a case of just, a bit of a different kind of skill approach, and just trying to get the car to do something almost differently in comparison to what you would with a front engine car. But again, this is just what we're dealing with. And again, why front-engine cars work better at some circuits and why rear-engine cars work better at some circuits because of the types of corners that we're dealing with. So that's why, once again, you would probably say, yeah, right, maybe a car that you rotate more on the throttle would actually work a little bit better here because you would almost avoid this phase of feeling like the car, you're going through this kind of dead phase where you're like, you don't really know what to do. It's like, okay, well, if I don't get on the throttle here, it's kind of going to be going too slow. But if I don't keep on trailing the brake, then I'm just going to understeer anyway. So it's kind of like you're just trying to balance the two together and just trying to kind of get that weight shifting to where you need it to at the right point, but allowing yourself to not lose any time in doing so either. So it's a very interesting concept for sure, something that we haven't really run through before because we haven't needed to. But it's something that's very important that is quite typical for a lot of these kind of high-speed circuits like this and the type of radius corners that we're dealing with as well. It really opens up that perspective. So yeah, add that definitely to your toolbox, add that to your kind of your skill set to definitely understand and undertake in your driving, because yeah, it'll just basically mean that in all of these corners that you may be losing that tenth, a couple tenths, you know, whatever it might be, that's where it kind of lies. It's that feeling of feeling like you've got to basically go from one to the other, whereas in the rear engine cars like this, you can kind of, you know, depending on the corner you're dealing with, you can kind of almost double pedal it a little bit to get two actions happening at once, pretty much in a way. That's what we're sort of looking at here. But it all relates back to the same point, is that we're rotating the car more on the brakes, but you've kind of got to make sure that even though you're rotating on the brakes, you still want to get that forward momentum happening at the right time and obviously happening so you can punch out the corner with the maximum amount of efficiency. But it's about making sure that all the little things are working together in obviously the right approach to get the answer you need, right? So yeah, does that make sense to you there, all Alan? Is that all quite clear what that background is with everything we're talking about there?
100%. 100%.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So yeah, as I was saying, 3 and 4. Any real big comments from you? To be honest, here, was there anything that you really kind of felt kind of unusual with here, or you felt inconsistent with this corner here, or these two corners, I should say, or were they both pretty self-explanatory in their own sense?
No, I think like I have not been consistent, but I've been chasing
Okay.
consistency here.
Okay.
I feel like the first corner is kind of tricky. T3, right? I think it's tricky because, as I said, like if you go too early on the gas, you're gonna go on the grass. If you go too late, you lose a lot of time. But I think it's a matter of repetition, really, like in refinement. I can see here the difference in the curves. In the second one, I feel like I'm losing. I feel the time on the second one is costing me more on the T5 through 7. So I'm more interested now in talking about like T5 through 7 in this one.
Yeah. So I was just before I hopped on here, I saw you were doing a few laps. I was watching your stream for a few laps, and I saw for this corner, I don't think it was every lap, but I saw on a few occasions you were really getting into that kind of like little divot on the left hand side, like that little, you know, little hump, or the little hump of area that's right on that bottom left hand sort of side of the track. I wasn't really typically getting anywhere near to getting a wheel into that real section basically, but I think potentially what could be the causation of that is the way that you're actually going about hitting the brakes coming into 4, that you can see that, typically you have more of a peak and a release and you get on the throttle very aggressively rather than having a kind of peak and a hold and then releasing and getting on the throttle more tentatively, almost in a way, right? So do you feel like it's based on how you hit the brakes going into 4 there that kind of depicts where the car points to for you, and is that what you're trying to do?
So first I was lifting. I was just like, and then I saw you braking. So I'm trying to use the brake, but I'm definitely, I feel like if I'm braking at that peak, like twice as much, more than twice as much as you are doing, it should be slightly later. Because it's happening what I was saying. Like whenever I hit that hard, I have to, it's hard not to fall in that thing. Because that's how the car pulls, and I want to be very tight and very open for the next corner, but it's a good catch. I didn't notice that.
So that's the first thing that I saw basically going into there, is that obviously the way that you're braking is making you pretty much end up a lot tighter. So if I play this right, where do you feel like your nose ends up somewhere pointing more so towards there? Do you feel like in a way is that where it's probably pointing more so to?
Yeah. And the problem is like whenever it drops there, it bounces a lot. So it's garbage. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. It's terrible. So you want to stay as far away from that actual dip as you can. As far as you'd want to go would pretty much be like the edge of the actual kind of almost curve around here. That's as far as you would want to go. So this braking right here, right? Doing this phase from here to here is what's causing you that point. It's what's causing you that pitch,
Yeah.
almost in a way, right? So what we need to do is we need to remove that pitch, but we need to kind of make sure that we're still trying the brake because yeah, I definitely tried lifting here as well, and yeah, it definitely did not work. You just end up going over almost going up a ramp over here and flying into
Mm-hmm.
the fence pretty much, and yeah, it was not working at all. So definitely no lifting here, but yeah, very soft brake. So we're braking to about 7-8-ish%, and you just basically peak, hold, trail, and you get back on the throttle. And you squeeze into 100% again before obviously you get the car to a straight line and you hit the brakes and obviously you do your thing coming into the corner. But yeah, I think we just, the way that we're pivoting into the corner, the way that we're pitching the car in, we've just got to kind of change the approach. So obviously naturally with that, what that's going to cause, if you are especially getting into that dip there, is simply going to mean that you're going to probably end up a little bit more in the mid track as well,
Mm-hmm.
coming into this corner too, right? Which again is going to offset your line quite a bit when you think about what you're trying to do here. It's probably going to push you out a little bit wider, deeper into the corner. So later on in the corner is going to push you out a little bit wider. But like you said for turn 3, if you literally are offline ever so slightly around here, it feels a bit awkward. And I definitely feel that with this corner here, especially as you crest and get to the top of the hill, if you're kind of slightly too far to the left, it can feel very awkward. Even if you feel like it's rotating nicely, it just doesn't feel like the grip is there almost in a way. It doesn't feel like you're getting the answer that you want. So what you basically got to do, like we said, so you come in, obviously turn in, brake, hold, back to full throttle, and then obviously you brake, right? Now, pressure-wise, we're there or thereabouts, kind of right around the same sort of area. Sort of in a way, your peak pressure into here is 58. My peak pressure is 58. Your peak pressure is 66, right? So a little bit of a different, I guess, approach in terms of the braking. But again, it's mainly probably to do with the fact that your car is sitting a little bit more over here, right? So in terms of distance, you're 1.56 meters to the right of me basically here. So you're basically like that far to the right. So your car's probably about there, realistically, in a way. That's where you're sitting. So what that's going to mean is you're probably going to feel like you have to put more pressure into the brakes, because if you don't, you're going to feel like the car isn't really going to get to where you want to, and it probably is going to go off. So already there at that point, you're already finding yourself losing a bit of minimum speed because you're coming in and obviously washing off a little bit more speed than myself. Now, how do you feel in majority of cases with what the car's doing basically from the apex here to the following apex here? How do you feel like the car usually feels for you in this little sequence of the corner?
So that's a very interesting one because everything is blind, right? You
Yes.
don't have like a
Yep.
reference where the track ends. If you
Hmm.
go too tight, you're losing speed on the exit of the next part, which also
Yeah.
means
Yeah.
it's gonna cost you a lot of time on the straight. And if you go too
Yeah.
wide, you hit the gravel there, which slows you down as an off track.
Hmm.
Right now, like, I feel like for a few laps, I've been doing this somewhat well, but still like not as consistent as I wish, and that's mostly because of that. I kind of want to do one thing, but I just know how good what I'm doing is once I get to that position, because I can see the curb and I can see the inside and the outside curb. So if I'm like too outside, it means I'm gonna hold and get the car into a straight line and avoid as much as I can the gravel. If I'm too inside,
Yeah.
I know I slow down too much.
Yeah. Okay. No, for sure. So one important thing here, and very easy to do, almost in a way, is this phase right here, where you coast from there to there, pretty much in a way. I mean, you have a little bump there, but yeah, I guess it's just a little bump to 7% realistically. But from there to there, you're realistically coasting. One of the easiest things to do through here is lift off the brake completely, especially just as you crest the hill. You feel like you just want to let the car almost roll for a split moment to allow it to kind of position itself again. But the problem is that whenever you let that roll happen, you can see exactly what happens in your steering, right? As soon as you basically go to release, you understeer. You maybe have a little bit of a snap of kind of oversteer here, but otherwise you go back to understeer. And when you do this, what it basically inherits is a wider line, right? It pushes you out more because, again, when we think about it, you're not loading up the nose, right? And we think about, again, these rear engine cars, you're going to be needing to load up the nose, because any moment that you're rolling like this, obviously in correspondence to the BMW, for example, you can't really get away with it as much because you just lighten up the front axle and it just basically becomes like a basically just like a free weighted front end of a car, basically, in a way. There's nothing really that's saying, okay, you need to do this. So the first thing that it does is just makes you have to crank more steering angle on, but then it also means that, yeah, it just pushes you out a lot wider. So already right here as well, you're sitting about 1.2 meters to the left hand side of me at this point right now, which has now put you offline. You get on the throttle nice and aggressively, but again, the car is having to kind of get itself back onto the right line, which then typically is just losing you to time basically from here all the way down the straight as well, basically, in a way. So you're losing your time pretty much from the moment you get back on the throttle all the way down the straight. That's where the time goes. Otherwise, everything is very similar. But the only reason why this all occurs is because of where you end up here. And because of where you end up there is because of here. And because you probably do this, it's probably got to do with that, right? So it's all knockback almost in a way. Whatever you do in terms of initial peak brake pressure is going to probably lead into you feeling like you can't trail the brake here. Then obviously it's going to cause you to turn more because obviously you're understeering. And then of course you're going to get back on the throttle efficiently. But by the time you get there, you're already slower by the minimum speed because you're having to scrub more off and you go a little bit wider. And that's it. And that's pretty much it. But again, it all stems back to what you're doing at 4, almost in a way. What you're doing at 4 could potentially mean the confidence that you have in terms of the line that you're taking right now probably makes you feel like in the car you have to brake a little bit harder, because if you brake softer, you probably would feel like you'd bowl into the sand anyway. So you brake a little bit harder. And then obviously because you do that, it stems into this, and then this stems into this, which is obviously okay, but then everything that's already happened already stems into this, and then this stems into obviously you losing speed all the way down there, and then we lose all our time. And that's basically it, right? So do you feel like, depending on the entry that you have into here, is very reflective of basically how you usually would hit the brakes? Is that probably fair to say? Or do you feel like it's just generally a case of probably the confidence of just naturally you're braking just a little bit harder coming into here and you just need to bring the pressure back, I suppose?
Yeah, no, I think it's mostly on the entry. So like fixing the downhill, making sure like I'm as safely wide as possible because I have to avoid like the deep.
Yes.
But getting that very open, I think naturally, as you said, like it's going to require less brake. If it's requiring less brake on the entry, it's going to be easier to have this brake in the middle. Because right now I'm looking at the speed line, right? If you see, even with a full lift, so because I brake harder, I slow down the car more than you do. And that's why it's natural to me to lift. But then what I feel is now I'm going faster than I should. So then going a little bit harder on the brakes, and then I do the last trail. And the other thing that I'm seeing here again is as you exit, and that's like where the time is, right? As we exit, there's also again like the behavior of slowly loading the back the back tires instead of like this sudden shift. And I think that's because I'm feeling that on the car, because I go on the gas and I'm feeling the front of the car going up. But then I think maybe I should start later on the brakes, but I know it's like the earlier I go, the better it is, because it's a long straight. So it's kind of a mental fight that I kind of have the solution now, and I have to practice.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the problem with this whole counterintuitive approach, is that, like, if, driving these GT4 cars was a completely different idea of, even in, anything going forward realistically, and as we've learned, this whole brake early, brake softer, brake to about 60%, all the little things like that. If it wasn't like that, it would be a completely different story, right? We'd be dealing with completely different kind of approaches to these corners and where we'd be braking and how we'd be rotating and all the things like that. But unfortunately, this is the fact of the matter that we're living in, is that the earlier that you go and the softer you go, the faster it is. But again, there's always the thoughts in your mind that, oh, okay, yeah, maybe if I try and do this, it'll make me go faster. But it's unfortunately just never the case, and you know that very well. You know that whenever you try and overdrive or over push a corner, try and do something more, you only go backwards, you never go forwards. And I think that's always the strangest thing to understand with this game, almost in a way, is that it's obviously doing the kind of thing that we would know counterintuitively. But again, if you can kind of understand it as you are very well, it allows you to really jump into something new that you've never really done before and execute it to a really high level, just because you understand what you're doing and why you need to do it. But that's the important thing, never changing that concept either. That concept is going to stay the same in pretty much whatever car you drive that basically has a roof on its head in this simulator, you're always going to be doing pretty much there or thereabouts the exact same thing every time. So it's just yeah, something to keep in mind with. But yeah, no, look, I think you understand what you need to change there. As we know, everything is a domino effect. 4, 5, 6, 7 there. They're all going to be basically, collectives of each other. Everything kind of stems off T4, which obviously stems into 5, 6, and 7. And then out of 7, obviously, you're carrying it all up to T8. And then again, T8 and 10, its own little complex, just about making sure that that's obviously driven correctly as well. But typically, other than that, it's all going to be just those little fine margins that are making probably the biggest differences in terms of what you're typically looking at, right? So yeah, do you understand where we kind of need to make those little adjustments? Very small ones, but very big gains. And I think that's always the biggest thing, is that small little adjustments give the biggest gains. And I think that's the point that we're at now. So that's obviously where we're at. But does that all make sense? That all quite clear?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. So down the straight, obviously straight's to straight. It's obviously everything you do out of 5 and 7. So obviously that's 2.6 tenths of a second, which is pretty much over half of your lap gone, pretty much just in that little complex. So that fix right there is basically going to bring you back pretty much a good 70 to 80% of probably your lap time, to be honest with you. And this section you did very well. This section you improved in quite a lot. I think from what I saw from the lap that I looked at earlier. I think your line coming through the exit of 8 was a little bit too, like the exit line, you were a little bit too far to the left, so you were positioning yourself like basically a lot more shallow coming into turn 9. So is that something that you noticed? Did you notice yourself ending up a lot more to the left than what you maybe wanted to be coming out of 8 and into 9? Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Like I adjusted a lot this one, but I'm still like paying the price getting to the last corner. So turn 10, like that's when these like small deviations are costing me the most.
Yeah. So obviously, you can see mainly that you're not getting the car back to the left-hand side, but also you're probably not opening the car up as much as you still would want to going into 9. So if you see how I'm basically going about it in a way, I'm pretty much coming into here, so you can see, so coming in, brake, obviously trial, squeezing onto the throttle, and then keeping it very tight to the right hand side, and then obviously allowing myself to turn in very aggressively through here and get it right back to the left. Whereas for yourself, maybe you're just not really getting as much rotation right at that final little mark that I am, almost in a way, and it's not really allowing you to get to the right hand side. So I guess what's the feeling for you right there? Is it the feeling that you can get more to the right, or is it more so the feeling that literally no matter what you do, the car's always going to end up a little bit more to the left in your standpoint?
So as I'm seeing like the telemetry here as well, I'm trying to think it makes sense, and I think it does. I think it goes back to what we said before, like because I'm releasing the brakes and going on the gas and not really overlapping them, the transfer of the weight is going too fast, and that makes me understeer on this corner. But if I try to either hold the brake for longer or go on the gas like slightly later, it overslows me down. So it costs me time either way. So I think, again, like here, as I fix the behavior of like slowly changing the weight back, it's going to help me keep this line more open to get a better line on the next one.
Yeah, for sure. And I suppose, as you can probably see as per the telemetry there as well, I guess the big thing that you can probably see already is just the actual peak pressure itself is actually different, right? So I am slowing the car down a lot more than you initially, which is probably actually giving me that little bit more bite as I come closer to that apex there. So I'm actually washing off a little bit more minimum speed, but I'm gaining it back. I'm gaining it back later. You know what I mean? I'm gaining it back later into sort of sequence, whereas you're gaining more on the initial part of the corner than me, but then you're not gaining it back later, right? So that's probably something to keep in mind with, is that typically in the way you are maybe actually approaching this corner initially, it is actually maybe slightly faster. In all fairness, it absolutely is. But the problem is that it's the back half of the corner or the sequence, almost the way it's that 9 and 10, where then you compromise because you gain through 8. You know what I mean? So it's all about that compromised gain, and it's like, okay, well, where do you overall gain the most time realistically? And typically, you're gaining more of the time coming out of 9 and 10 than you are out of, obviously turn 8 and all the kind of things like that. Because realistically, like if we look at the lap time graph here, you can see that coming into 8, right? So obviously losing down the straight, obviously on the brakes, you're gaining time. You gain it like 1.6, 1.8 tenths of a second, almost in a way, all the way going into turn 9, right? You exit out of turn 9, you put yourself out of position, right? Then you got to linger on the brakes. You go from being 1.2 tenths behind me to basically by the time we get to the start finish line, you go from 1.2 to 4.01. Well, pretty much to 4.06 by the end. So literally just through T9 and kind of coming out of 9 and into 10, you're basically losing 3.5 tenths of a second, basically, just through there alone. But you gain 1.6 back coming into 8. So the gain versus loss is that, pretty much in a way, right? That's the gain versus loss that we're dealing with here. It's just a bit over a tenth. But it's obviously interesting, yeah, to see where the time is gaining and where the time is losing, and it's typically, yeah, all in there. So I think rather than kind of, you know, having to deep dive into it too much in terms of like approach, because yeah, it definitely makes that difference. Obviously, that discussion about the way the weight transfer. But I think typically what you just need to do is you need to compromise into 8 to get a better exit into 9 and 10 rather than doing 8 really well and then compromising through 9 and 10, because you can see the gain for you through 8 is nowhere near comparable to the loss that you get through 9 and 10, almost in a way, right? And it's just literally because of your positioning. You're out of position, which means that you get on the throttle a little bit later, not as aggressively, and obviously because of that, you lose yourself that time, and then your day is done already there before, in a way, and that's pretty much it, right? But yeah, you know, it's always interesting to look at it that way, because you know, we've learned a lot about our gain versus losses over the months with the BMW, and you know how you can sort of say, okay, let me do this corner in this way and try and maximize it a bit better in this sense, or lose more in that sense to gain more here, or whatever. But you know, it all just comes back to that topic of understanding on how you're learning the circuit and why you're doing things in a specific way. It's always going to come back to that same notion every single time. So yeah, something to think about. But yeah, does that I guess, yeah, give you maybe a bit of a different perspective of the corner, and I guess make you maybe think about in a way of, yeah, you're maybe trying to attack 8 a lot more aggressively than obviously, you know, you are in 9 and 10, obviously then compensating for that.
Yeah. That's very
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah. So yeah, no, look, I think obviously a short track here at Motorsport, but I think the biggest thing is that, you know, these are new circuits for you. It's not like we're dealing with a Tsukuba, or we're not dealing with a Winton, or we're not dealing with a Virginia, or whatever it might be, right? These are all pretty much brand new circuits for you in a way. And the fact that you're coming into these, you know, open mindset, you're able to learn, you're able to apply, and you're able to extract all the kind of the skills and the techniques that we've learned and apply it very, very decently at these circuits is great. I think it's just, you know, it's always good for us to be able to sit here and, you know, obviously from my perspective, I've done a fair few laps around here and kind of learned what the best way to go about it is, just to give you a bit of a different perspective on, okay, well, you're doing it this way, how can you maybe do it in that way and see if that works better for you. Again, we're talking about very, very small clumps of time, but again, these clumps of time is what makes you basically go from being at a 0.4% difference to being literally, you know, less than a 0.1% difference, which is, you know, what we're consistently trying to get down to. So, yeah, no, I think very, very good once again. I think a very nice discussion of, I think, a very big topic that is going to help you not only for the now but into the future as well with any car that you drive. And it's always something to keep in mind with, even, you know, when you do drive an open wheeler car, for example, it can always come back into come into picture with those cars as well, even though of course you're mainly using more downforce of aerodynamics, of course, but it still resonates. There's realistically never going to be a front engine open wheeler car base in a way. It's always going to be rear engine. So, you know, you're always kind of dealing with that lack of weight over the nose. But of course, the front wing, you've got a lot of aero over the front of the car. So that kind of helps to keep it down. But still, you're not going to have that actual mechanical weight that's there naturally. So you do definitely have to kind of let the car you know, rotate a little bit more on the brake rather than getting on the throttle very early, which is sometimes why you can pick up the throttle, get that snap of oversteer, and then kind of have to sit and linger on the throttle in like an F4 or Formula Ford, for example, because of those reasons. So yeah, big topic to understand, but I think it sounds like you got the gist of it very well. But yeah, look, I think other than that, really, Alan, quite good day today. I think it should be a fairly decent, good race week for you next week in this car. Obviously a tough circuit in terms of yeah, you know, obviously making maneuvers and stuff like that, obviously it's a lot of straight line, but to set yourself up and put yourself in a good position isn't exactly the easiest. But I think, yeah, qualifying is anything, always important. But yeah, I mean, look, what's your overall thoughts? Any kind of big major questions to obviously ask there, or does that all kind of make quite a fair bit of sense to you
I
there?
have like one question that I should have asked
Mm,
earlier, but
sure.
the thing that I'm struggling, and I think it's going to be a bigger struggle in this track, is managing
Okay.
faster traffic. So in the race that I had in
Okay.
Mugello, it's a long track,
Mhm.
a lot of space for them to overtake. It's like
Mhm.
way less bouncy and bumpy.
Yep.
But whenever like they caught up to us, I was just trying to survive because they do dumb stuff, right?
Yep. Yep.
And in that effort of surviving, I started losing a lot of time to the car in front of me. And then
Okay.
like once
Okay.
they went through, I was like 3, 4
Yep.
seconds behind, and it was very hard to
Okay.
catch up again.
Yep.
So what's
Okay.
your like? And I think it's going to be harder here, just because we have even less space that actually works on the track. So what's your tip like for me to not lose as much time as I see like faster traffic approaching?
Yeah, it's always a hard one that because I think there's always a lot of right and wrongs in terms of ways you can go about it or ways you can sort of approach it. But I think yeah, typically if you're aware that you've got faster traffic coming on, I think it's just very much in a case of always trying to allow yourself because eventually in one way or another they're going to pass you. But I think it's just about trying to make sure that you don't make it harder than it needs to be almost in a sense. So I think it's a race at the end of the day. You're racing for position and stuff like that. But I think really the realistic sort of sense of it is you're trying to complete your race in the fastest race time possible. So if you feel like there's going to be, depending on the driver you're dealing with, if you feel like that driver from what you know is aggressive, or you feel like what you've seen, as they've been coming through, they've been very aggressive. You just basically going to say, okay, where's the safest spot on this racetrack for me to just concede, let's say, 5, 6, 7, 8 tenths of a second, and just let them go almost in a way. It's going to be probably a lot smarter for you to maybe concede a position safely and lose maybe, 5 to 8 tenths of a second rather than them potentially wanting to dive bomb you in some strange spot and then you having to avoid it and then you potentially going into the sand and you getting a slowdown or something like that, right? Just basically preempt giving a position up and just say, okay, where can I sort of say he's coming up close now? Where can he make his move safely, and where can I basically lift off to allow him to make that pass without it affecting my race too much, right? If you try to do your pace and drive your race and don't really let it up and expect him to kind of make the maneuver, that's where it can get a little bit nasty. That's where, potentially he could send you into a spot. You maybe don't notice it. You have to avoid. Maybe there's net code. There's potentially contact. Something happens. You get pushed off the track. You lose 4 seconds, right? But you lose 5 positions in the process. So, if you see someone's fast, if you see they're within a second, once they start getting around that, 5 to 6 tenths sort of region, just say, where can I lift off here? Where can I concede? Let him go, continue on with your race. You only lose maybe a second in total, rather than potentially losing 2, 3, 4 seconds, depending on the way you go about it, right? So does that answer your question a little bit in that case?
Yeah, yeah. I think like bottom line
Yeah,
is just stay safe and
yeah,
hope
yeah,
doesn't lose too much.
yeah. Feel comfortable with conceding because sometimes it can be you not wanting to concede. Sometimes that could be the reason why you don't finish a race. To be honest with you,
Yeah,
and that's something that I've experienced quite a lot. That you always feel like, okay, they're faster than me, but if I defend, it'll be okay. But the problem is that like, okay, well, what only doesn't happen is that potentially you put yourself at risk to maybe being taken out because they try and put the nose in somewhere that they're maybe potentially faster and they can get a good run out of, that they can put themselves in the position to pass. But you're also making your overall race time slower. You're basically defending, losing maybe 1.5 seconds per lap, which is actually allowing then the rest of the field to catch up almost in a way. So you don't only affect the particular moment, but you also put your next phase of the race at risk as well. When eventually he does get past, and then you've got another 4 or 5 cars that have caught up instead of it was just basically you and maybe one other guy. Now it's you and 4 other guys in the battle. So yeah, you've just got to basically say the fast guy's coming, just let him go. Because again, once he gets past, he'll probably, drive into the distance a little bit anyway, and it's just like, okay, well, what's the point of me holding him up? He's going to get through at some point. Just let me make sure that I keep my race as clinical as possible, as efficient as possible, and I let my race basically go on as normal. I'll just safely let him through and then make sure that I can continue on as I am, right? So yeah, definitely something to deal with, and of course, obviously in the 30-minute races with obviously the LMP3s and stuff like that. Obviously that's obviously a bit of a different game as well. Having the different class cars, but yeah, it's kind of the same ideology. You see them coming up, you just make sure that you concede a little bit, lose 5/10 instead of trying to hammer it into the corner, and then they dive down your inside, take you out, and then your race is done. So yeah, it's always an interesting one. But yeah, no, keep focusing on all the main things. Again, the results are coming in, and I think that's very important. And I'm very impressed to see that already off the get-go, we're already at that point. Again, I'm sure from the beginning you probably would have maybe felt like you maybe wouldn't have been that far up the front already at this stage. But again, it just shows that everything you're doing is working, and you're understanding what we need to do as well, which is obviously the most important thing. So, yeah, man. We'll have a look at where are we at next week. I think we're at the Bend. I think is it the Bend next week or the Australian circuit? I believe maybe. I don't even
I don't
remember
know.
where. Let me have a look where we're at. So we were at so we obviously Magello. Then we did Motorsport, and then next time we catch up, we will be at yes, the Bend. So the Bend.
The
Yes.
bench,
So
okay.
nice Australian track for me. I know that very, very well. So that will be a good one to go through together. You'll enjoy it. It's a fun track. A lot of technical type of corners, but yeah, one that once you get your head around it, you'll enjoy it quite a lot. But it's good. It's in the morning, so it's nice and cold. So it's really, really good conditions. So it gives you a lot of grip, a lot of confidence. So it'll be a good track. So yeah, man. You go away. I'll get a lap for you there in the next few days. I'll make sure to send you the IBT as well, along with that too, so you can have that as well. And then yeah, we'll catch up. We'll catch up next time, and we'll go from there.
Perfect, man. I really appreciate it.
Perfect, Alan. You're welcome, man. Have a good rest of your week, okay? And all the best with the racing. And yeah, I'll see you next time.
See you next time, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Take it easy, man. Good night, man. See you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Great stuff. Let me go to the restroom real quick, and I'll be right back. Switzerland's beating 2-0 Algeria, which is surprising. Surprising to me. I thought it was going to be 1-0, and that's it. Alright, we're back. We're back. So, it's kind of late, but I still want to do a few laps just to see if we can fixate in our brains, just like burn in our brains exactly what we were discussing right now. I think it's going to be harder than it looks like, because the major shift in approach, I was watching my fast lap here. So, discussions we had, right? First and foremost, like here, I have to hold the brakes for a little bit longer. Like the gas is fine, but I have to hold the brakes all the way here so I don't induce this understeer. What I want to do is shift the weight slower to the back. Here I think we're doing fine. Keeping a tight line, going early on the gas. And I do feel like getting the grass here helps to keep the car on the inside. And then brake here. I also like a understeer here. And again, like holding the brakes for a little bit longer, just a tiny bit longer. If you look my gas and my brake here, they never overlap. And holding that overlap is going to allow me to go in a line like this. This one I'm just going too hard on the brakes. And because I'm going hard on the brakes, it's pointing, I'm getting tighter here than I should, and pointing the wrong direction. Right, I'm understeering here, and that's exactly what he said, like I should be here. I'm all the way here, so I have to brake harder so I can go around here. Again, here I need to overlap the gas and the brakes so I can go tighter here. Not a lot of difference here. Then here I have to slow down the car a little bit more. Aim for this curb here. Not look there. Aim for this curb, get a wider exit, and from this position here brake like this, go tighter, and that's gonna give me, you see like how garbage this is? And that's what we talked about, like whenever you slide the car, you're losing time. You can, like, you don't have to be like a rocket scientist to see this was garbage, right? So let's go for, I want to take the optimal off for now. But we do have a good, like, our optimal is like a 6-7, so not bad. Not bad. We probably have done already in a few laps what we're talking about doing, but no, okay. I'm trying to overthink here, so. Not quite. Yeah, we did have the overlap. Let's work on that. Let's work on that. You see the difference? Like how wide I'm gonna go now?
Shivan Andrews
Nope.
said, "Good night, difficult track this one."
Oh yeah. And this car doesn't make it any easier, to be honest. Let me go like for maybe 2 or 3 laps. Which car are you planning to race? Or you're not racing GT4s? Shoot them, like it's cost me a lot of time. So let's go for a few laps.
Shivan Andrews said,
Let's try to take it easy, just do the
"Only
right
one I
behavior.
own is the Porsche LOL."
Okay. Like, are you also struggling with the weight transfer? Over slow down here. I should have held this for longer. Let me just go like around a full.
Shivan Andrews said, "Definitely struggling, LOL. I am overdriving a lot."
Yeah. Makes 2 of us. You see? Should have gone harder on the brakes there. Yeah. But what's your fast time here? Because you're faster than I am, so it's good to have a reference of someone I know is faster than I am. not good, but let's try to go like around a full lap. Just like do like a full lap, right?
Shivan Andrews said, "So I did my first few laps tonight, best I can manage is 24-1.
Do you know if it's the same track conditions? Gotta go earlier on the gas, I think. Are just using the
Shivan Andrews
same track conditions next week?
said, "Probably not same conditions. I did the testing option on the schedule with default settings."
Yeah, that's what I did. Like 75 degrees in garbage, right? I always thought Jenny did something different from that, but he doesn't. Uh-oh. Yeah. No bueno. Let me see one thing here. No. Let me see one thing here. What's our optimal lap now? Still that. Not enough, not enough. More patient on the gas here. Ah, slight off track.
Shivan Andrews said, "Turn 5 is a pain in the ass."
Oh yeah. This one here. Yeah. Like it's hard not, for me it's hard not to overbrake on the entry. because the last thing I want to do is fly, you know. So no. Okay, gotcha. I almost destroyed my toes here. Stay in, stay in, stay in, stay in. Ah. Not gonna stay in, right? Nope. These are also like more like qualifying laps, right? These are mostly qualifying laps because during the race beyond this limit, it's going to be really, really hard in a track that you don't really need to be at that level because it's hard to overtake. So if you go tight here, there's like really nowhere people can overtake you. Then you can try to overtake here, your own risk. Like you see, gotta brake harder. No, I don't wanna go that inside, so let's try to avoid the curb all together here. We can do more, we can do better. I think this is a decent amount of curb. Man. So let's challenge ourselves here, okay? We are gonna do like 5 laps. That's it, 5 laps. And the goal is gonna be like build up to where we think we should be. Yeah, there's enough track on the inside. I want to test that. So, starting now. I want to have my... I think this is going to help. Because I'm also trying to have the 3% here. It's okay. As long as you don't crash. So I'm going like to, and I'm releasing the brake here. We don't want that, okay? So 5 laps total. This is the first lap. Let's just get back into good shape, good behaviors. Oh damn, I was looking at my wheel. Can you believe it? I wanna see one thing here. No, I can't.
Your car is leaking fluid. Got a blown engine.
Okay, so 5 laps starting now. Uh-oh. This is 1 of 5, so let's do the... So lap 1. Off track. We did go harder on the brakes on the entry. Maybe we trail baked too early. Or went hard too early. Or not hard enough too late. So lap 2 was bad, but we are finding our limit here. That's okay. Still a lot of time lost there. Maybe less than before, but it's still a lot. Much better lap. Still not like where it should be. There was 3 or 5. Oh, that's 4 or 5, so let's bring it back. We have one more chance to beat our own time. Let's see what we can do here, okay? Last and best, okay? Not a very good lap. Oh, too much inside the line. That was not a good corner. Not at all. But we're gonna gain a bit here. That's 24.1. I feel we have like our fastest lap here. Come on, come on. I made a mistake there. Okay. I believe we can do it. I believe we can do it. There we go.
New fastest lap for you.
There we go. Yeah, I tried a different approach here. It actually cost me a lot of time. So 3.8. We improved a tiny bit. Tiny bit.
Shivan Andrews
Yeah, that's cool.
said, "What's the target race pace around here?"
The lap time that Gianni shared with us was a 3.5. But how much that translates into what actually happens here depends a lot. Because like one of the things to consider is that like it's not like Gianni comes here and spends 5 hours trying to get the fastest lap. He comes, gets a decent one, and wherever is out like we discussed. But I think it's maybe a low 23. Like a 22 would surprise me. A 22 would be like an alien lap time. No, that was not good. Okay, it's okay. One last try. Because we already did like our last try and got like a better time. It's going under steer, right? Yeah. Let me fight more with the steering wheel and see if I can get it. Where I want, okay? No, I can't. Let's do it. Now or never. Never. Woo!
You've got a lot of smoke.
You sure?
Your car has too much damage. We've got to fix it. You have a.
I think it froze. It did freeze. It dropped. Good timing. That was it. That was our fastest. We did improve a tiny bit, maybe like... Let me update this, see if anything changes. And then, yeah, I gotta exit here. So, VRS has a slightly different one. Let me show you my track info. It's just like whatever I got there plus like 0% track usage. That's the only thing I added. Everything else is just imported from that. So maybe track usage put it 0%, so we can compare. Let me see VRS again, because I'm pretty happy. Home, analyze line. No laps. Teammates. Now we're losing more time on T1. Funny, right? But we caught up on the last... Okay. We caught up on the last one, which is good. We caught up on the straight. We lower this. Okay. This one... We're now actually slower. Is this one? I think it's about the same, actually. This one is slightly faster than we were before, and this one, like, we're super slow. So if I compare with myself here... Yeah. So let's see. My T1 was slower now. T2 was the same. T3 was slightly slower. 5 through 7 was slightly faster, and then much faster. So all the time we gained was on the back end of the corner of the lap. And if we had like match everything else, this would be significantly better. I think we can find it. We just need more practice. We just need to be patient and practice more. Now if you compare to Gianni, we're talking about a 352. 352. Which is within like almost 0.4% of his lap time. I honestly think this is amazing. We had tracks with them too that we couldn't get this close. And if you can have like very decent and consistent space, which we're having here, we're being consistent, which is good. It's a short track. I think we can have a very interesting week. But that's it. That's it. If you don't know what's going on in the world right now, Switzerland is beating 2-0, so they should make to the round of 16. Right, so we have, let me see here, Paraguay and France. France is gonna get this one. Canada and Morocco. I think Morocco is gonna make through. It's also tomorrow. Then Sunday we have Brazil and Norway. I think Brazil is gonna make it. We have Mexico and England. I think England's gonna make it. I think it's gonna be Brazil, Brazil, England here. Then on Monday, Portugal, Spain. I think Spain is gonna make it through. US and Belgium. I think US is gonna make it through. Argentina versus Australia. I think this is a coin toss, but Australia usually chokes. I think Egypt can make it through. I think either one can make it through here, but no one's gonna hold Argentina. I think Argentina makes through. This one, Switzerland's making through. Colombia and Ghana. Good game for tomorrow. I think if I had to guess, I'll take Colombia. I think Colombia has a good team. They could make it through. And yeah, those are my guesses here. Who should care about them? Absolutely no one. But I care about them. It's a good fight here. So Vini Jr. had like one disallowed goal that should have not been disallowed. He should have 5 goals here. Messi scored 2 goals after he should have been sent off, and then 2 goals in the following game. So he definitely should have just 2 goals. Let's see how corrupt FIFA is. That's it. Thanks everyone for joining. I'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, okay? If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel and join our